everyone. First, I'd like to say, yeah, how excited I am to be here and see so many 2D virtual faces in the audience. So welcome, and yeah, thank you for taking the time to come here this morning. I'm firstly going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to go into a bit of background about what is medical writing and what is medcoms. So I am Caroline, and yeah, thank you for the introduction, Carl. I am a principal medical writer here at Word Monster, as well as having a passion for medical writing and communicating complex scientific topics. I love all things education. And now I'm in the very privileged position of being involved in training the next generation of medical writers, being the head of the Monster Academy here at Word Monster. So at Word Monster HQ, we all have our code names or monster names. I'm going to start off by letting you know about my monster name. My monster name's Geneva. We all pick these names when we start off at Word Monster. And at Word Monster, we have quite a culture on life first and family life balance. And I actually picked the name Geneva because we'd just been on a family holiday to Geneva before I started at Word Monster. Family is very important to me. I have two little girls. So yeah, I wanted to bring that in. Also, I wanted to bring in my love of science, and genetics was my first passion. So clearly that falls into it as well. And I love the name Geneva. So there is my monster name, genetics, and also family life. I have, as I said, I have a passion for education. And so my skill set, as well as sharing the love of science, is working in med ed, which we'll come to talk about a little bit later, as one of the main topics, main areas of medical writing you can get involved in. And I'm an experienced educator, as we'll see on the next slide with my background, how I got to where we are today. And my passion, other than for sitting in the spa and the sauna on the weekend, my passion will be seeing others succeed and being part of their journey, which, as I say, is wonderful being in the role that I am now and leading up the Monster Academy. So here is my path to Word Monster. As you can see through my roadmap, I've taken quite a windy journey to get to where I am today. And like Carl, my passion started at school as well. I remember being in middle school and I first realised that I loved biology and that was going to be my life. And yeah, it took me to here. I think, yeah, I have quite a windy path, but I think that's really good. I think it brings so many more skills and values and repertoire to being a medical writer. And I think if any of you in the audience today are thinking of having a career change, you might be in a similar position. I began with a master's degree at Bath University, where I also completed a placement year in the drug discovery and pharmacology department at a pharma company based in Reading. And then I went on to complete a PhD in medical genetics at Birmingham University. I began my postdoc position in a protein diagnostic company, running retrospective clinical trials and managing a small research group. At this point, it's best we don't mention Western blots. They became the bane of my life. But I did get to travel to lots of international conferences and present my work, so this made up for it. But this was the time I realised, probably due to the Western blots, that I wanted to try my hand at something non-lab based, but still related to medical research and medicine. So I transitioned into a role as an education development officer at the NHS National Genetics Education Centre. And this was my first experience of medical writing. We wrote for healthcare professionals and patients. We produced slide decks, training, leaf pieces, videos, animations, all around the use of genetics and genetic testing in the NHS. As well as having children, I then went on to lecture biomedical sciences at Worcester University, and this led me to go into secondary school science teaching and gain a postgraduate diploma in education. Nearly there. I told you it was a long journey. My last stop on my roadmap is working again in a protein diagnostic company as an MSL. An MSL is a medical science liaison. It's somebody in pharma who goes and explains complex information to clinicians and key opinion leaders in the field. So I had a dual role as an MSL and as a medical writer in the psychoms department. And this gave me the most valuable experience that I had as a medical writer. Not only there did I have a role where I produced and wrote slide decks and manuscripts and marketing pieces, but also having an experience as an MSL was really valuable. And this is where my journey at Word Monster began. Here at Word Monster, I have worked for many clients and direct clients and other agencies, and worked on promotional work to medcoms to med ed. And yeah, we cover it all. So I started here just before the pandemic, when working from home was soon to become the norm for the entire world. And yeah, I've now transitioned to become head of the Monster Academy here. So enough about me. I know you're all really here to find out about careers in medical writing and medcoms, and I'm sure you've all done your research, which has led you to this event. But I'm going to take the next few minutes to explain a little bit more about careers in medical writing and medcoms. So maybe you all sitting there thinking that medical writing is a fairly new career, perhaps supporting pharma and portraying the use of modern medicine. Well, think again. The first record of medical writer actually dates back to the ancient past. The mythical god Thor, a god who worshipped in Egypt between 6000 and 30 BC, documented the use of medicine, the body, and diseases on papyrus scrolls. In fact, medical writing can be followed throughout history, from the Hippocrates of Kos to the great Roman scholar Galen, to the 17th century when medical terms were first translated from Latin into modern languages. In 1812, you can see here, is when the New England Journal of Medicine was founded. The New England Journal of Medicine and Surgery is the oldest continuous medical periodical, which is central to the rigorous peer review process that holds high levels of scientific accuracy and stringent editing processes to medical publications. And here we are on the right-hand side today at Gather Town, everyone gathered in 2023. So if you are considering a career in medical writing, you're actually following the footsteps of some pretty mighty medical writing giants. So what is medical writing? Medical writers convey information in a concise, unambiguous style approach to the target audience. That is the main definition I like to use when we go through this in the Monster Academy. So you can think that the role of a medical writer is to use science and language to deliver information successfully while working to the highest ethical standards and adhering to industry regulations and guidelines. So if you're thinking of becoming a medical writer and you're thinking, yeah, this is for me, what kind of skills do you think we should have as a medical writer? So I've broken this down into 4 different categories. Firstly, is the key attributes, and I think attention to detail would be one that all medical writers would say is key up there. And I remember, as starting at Word Monster, the first social trip I went on was over to Dublin, and we all sat in a restaurant and realised we were all starting to look for typos in the menu that we were looking at, and we didn't even mean to. And it's that kind of attention to detail that you may realise that you have, which is super important if you're going to be a medical writer. And that, together with communication skills and a good work ethic, are really important. And then, of course, being a medical writer, it's combining that love for science and medicine with your love of English and language. So having a scientific and a medical background is really key and really important to have the understanding of medicine, of biomedical concepts and terminology. When you get going in medical writing, you'll soon become familiar with different guidelines and different documents, which will also be key. But yeah, having that ability to use PubMed and do a literature search and understand the literature you're reading and have that critical thinking ability is really important. And then, as I say, language with writers, so having a great writing skills is going to be really important. You need to be able to write clearly and accurately with grammar which is spot on. So you need to be able to present information clearly, but also compellingly. So you really get that story across to your audience. And then finally, transferable skills. As you saw, my journey here has been quite long, and I think everyone accumulates those transferable skills as you go through life, which are really important. Teamwork, leadership, project management, resilience, all these transferable skills are also really important. So I must say, I love this slide. Actually, the picture on here is great, and quite an end of the world scheme here. So can you imagine life with no medical writers? It might not be quite as dramatic as you can see in this picture here, but it might not also be quite the blissful summer's day spent on a beach sipping ice cold mojitos. Maybe life would end. Would there be mayhem, chaos, destruction? What do you think would happen if we had no medical writers? Carl said earlier, we have Slido. So just for a bit of fun, we're going to have a little brainstorm to see what life would be like without medical writers. So all you need to do is grab your phone and scan in the QR code you can see on the screen here. And hopefully then you can start typing away. So be as creative as you can. What would you think life would be like without medical writers? Unregulated, a great start there. Wow, we have got so much coming up here. Fantastic. So we've got fake news, sad, chaos, confusing, poor healthcare, disease, dissemination of the wrong medical information. I like that, filled with typos and typos in that as well. Fantastic. Dangerous, a lack of knowledge, all over the place, full of confusion, less patient consideration, GPT, very relevant there. Less robust science, poor written publications in the New England Journal of Medicine, potential harm to patients, really important there. Uneducated, less robust science, mistrust in healthcare, which, yeah, I think is really important, especially with the social media these days. I can see a few people are still typing, so I'll leave that there for now. So thank you, that's really great. And I think you can see from this just how important medical writers are and what an important role it is to be a medical writer. So life might not be the scene from that disaster movie, but pharma companies may struggle to get their drugs to market or to market them as effectively as they can. It may be that adverse events might not be recorded accurately or in a timely way. So there may be an increased risk to patients, to healthcare professionals, which I think a few people have written down here. Doctors might not get the training they need. So maybe they don't have the latest information, the latest knowledge about the current medicines that are available for their patients, ultimately leading to less choice of treatment for patients. And patients themselves, they may not have the information to enable them to make informed choices, again, affecting health-related quality of life for patients. So yeah, I think we're all on the same wavelength here, that medical writing is not only a really fun and fantastic area to work in, but it's also really, really important as well. And Armageddon, let's finish with that Armageddon entry there. Absolutely, that's definitely what I think life would be like without medical writers. Thank you very much for filling that in, everybody. So just to give you a few examples of the things that we work on as medical writers, we have a vast variety of documents medical writers can work on, and these are just some examples. Starting at the top, we create slide decks, so PowerPoint slide decks, and these are often for educational and training materials. It's likely your GP at some point will have received training through a training resource generated by a medical writer, and we often work closely with pharma to generate training decks about the latest drugs which they have got to bring into market. Regulatory documents, are really important. These are documents written which are required by regulatory agencies to support the approval of the latest drugs or medical devices. Scientific publications. These are the preparing manuscript for submission at a scientific journal, and this is vital. This is how we know and how we have that advancement of medical knowledge to help increase the medicines we have available. We are often involved in research and operation, writing those kind of materials for pharma. So these are kind of materials that assist pharma companies' research and operations, which are required to enable drugs to enter and remain on the market, including materials for new drugs and health service launches. We are often involved in supporting at congresses, as well as in our role in supporting congresses. We often produce conference posters and slide decks as well, which are going to be presented at Congress. Promotional materials is a large thing. We are often involved in generating promotional materials for pharma companies, and also lay materials. So increasingly, there's more of an involvement in patients in the journey of a drug's life cycle, and we are now involved in helping create that information for patients. So often creating things like lay summaries of clinical trials, which are really important to make sure that either people who are involved in clinical trials know all of the information that came out of those studies. So that's just a little taster of the kind of work we get involved in medical writing, but it is so varied. There's such a wide area of things you can get involved in. It's really fantastic. Talking about a lot about medical writing, what is medcoms? We often hear that term, medcoms. So medcoms agencies are contracted by pharma companies to provide specialist support in communicating data. Agencies require people with a range of skills and personalities, and not just medical writers, but also account managers and project managers. There's a whole team of different people who all come into this family at a medical comms agency. So medcoms agencies play an integral role in the pharma company's efforts to launch and sell those medicines through all those different documents we have produced, as we saw on the previous slide. And we always think about our audience when we write documents. Knowing your audience is really key to make sure you're writing to that audience and to the level that they're going to understand. So what audiences do we generally write for? A lot of the time we're writing for healthcare professionals, so doctors, nurses, pharmacists. We might be writing materials aimed at pharma employees and also patients and healthcare givers. So before we move on to our Q&A session, where we can look at some writers here at Word Monster and look at how they got into medical writing, it would be nice to know a bit about you. There's so many of us here today in the audience. It would be great to know a little bit more about you. So we've got some Slido questions coming up. They're just multiple choice, super simple. If you keep the app open on your phone, the page that you were on, they'll come up automatically, or you can just scan in the QR code as it comes up. So firstly, where are you joining us from today? If you scan in that code, in fact, I think I lied. I think this is another word cloud. There we go. Liverpool, London, Aberdeen, Portugal, Sydney, wow, Australia, Geneva, fantastic to have somebody here from Geneva, Mallorca. Wow, we are reaching a long way. This is fantastic. This is what I love about virtual events, is you can just really reach out to everybody no matter where they are. Somebody's in their kitchen, I like that. Birmingham, the place of my heart, fantastic. India, Manchester, oh, it's amazing. Germany, South Africa, Chester. So it looks like we have a lot from London. Amazing. Well, that is just fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. One more person typing, so I'll just let them finish so we can get a really good idea of where everyone is from. Cyprus. I think you're just trying to make us jealous now. You're in Cyprus, although we have got good weather here today. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And next question. It might be that this is you're not quite there yet to know, but if you do know, what area of medical writing are you interested in? Is it medcoms, medical education, medical advertising, scientific publications, writing for patients and the public, all of the above, or regulatory writing as well? Not sure why that's gone to the bottom there. Or looks like we're in a tie between medcoms and writing for patients and the public. Fantastic. Well, that is really great to know, and you're absolutely in the right place. So fantastic. And yeah, please do come and reach out to us at the end of the talks, and we can answer any of the specific questions you have as well. Thank you so much for that. Next question, we've got just 2 questions left. What is your highest level of education? Brilliant. Well, I think we have got a very highly educated meeting going on here right now. Fantastic. Loads of yeah, people with PhDs there, BScs and MScs. Fantastic. And on to one other question, which is we've been talking about a lot about our 2D office. So just what is your preferred place to work? Hybrid, remote, or office based? Brilliant. Well, it looks like we have a lot of like-minded people here who don't like sitting in traffic jams. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking part in that quick survey. That's really interesting.